Fox Business alert: the financial fallout from the Italian cruise crash being felt on Wall Street. Shares of Carnival Cruise Lines, that's the owner of the ship that crashed in Italy, having its biggest one-day fall since right after 9/11. And the rest of the industry could be hit hard as well, as travelers seeing pictures like these decide to vacation on land instead. Travel specialist Mark Murphy says he expects cruise lines will be slashing prices in order to get customers on board. Mark is from Travel Alliance. So how do you get travel agents to book fares on cruises when people see these pictures?
Well, number one, they have to understand that cruising is very safe. In general, this is very unusual. Last year, according to the Cruise Lines International Association, 16 million people embarked on a cruise, and very few incidents occur at sea. But when it does happen like this...
But it's a tough sell. Let's not cut corners.
Right now, consumers are concerned. And what the challenge is, 80% of consumers have never taken a cruise in the U.S., right? So U.S. travelers, 80% haven't cruised, 20% have. The 20% that have cruised, they're okay with it. Right. They understand. The 80% is the challenge.
Well, can the industry live for a while with just the 20%?
Yeah, the industry's been going through a tough time right now. You've had the downturn in the economy that impacted all travel suppliers, in particular the cruise lines. You've had the higher fuel prices, which impact them, but more so on the airfare. They positioned a lot of ships in Europe. Airfares went up. They've had to drop cruise prices, so the package price comes out to a number that is conducive to sell, because the customer's concerned about the total cost, not the various components.
And, you know, I've been interviewing a lot of the passengers on the Concordia, and so many of them were newbies. They had never done a cruise before, and that's exactly the group that's going to be turned off by these pictures.
Correct. First-time cruisers, and that's the biggest challenge that they're going to have, bringing those first-time cruisers on.
So how do they do it? Are they going to have to offer discounts like crazy, or what?
Well, I think you'll find during the peak periods, they command a huge premium because demand is always there no matter what's going on. It's during the off periods that you're going to see a reduction in yield or a cost per cabin, and that's going to come down. That's going to impact the bottom lines of Carnival, Royal Caribbean, and those folks, the publicly traded companies, as well as the privately held companies.
Might they have to actually lose money as a loss leader in order to bring people in?
No, because one thing about the cruise lines, they always make money and they deliver a great experience. So they get you on board, and then what they do is they have you gambling, they have you buying sodas, you're going on excursions, you're having a bottle of wine.
I'm laughing because I couldn't avoid gambling. I was on a couple of cruises on the Crystal line, which we'll talk about. But yeah, you really are enticed into all these things.
And understand,
you're very good salespeople.
Well, it's a perishable product, so they're going to make sure that that ship doesn't sail unless it's full. And that's the key. And once they get you on board, they know on a per diem basis you're going to spend a certain amount of money based on the brand. So tends to be the lower end brands, the people actually tend to spend a lot more on gambling and other things and drinking. The more higher end brands, the premium brands, they tend to spend a little less. So they have to play with those yields to get the number that they want as a brand and as a company.
That's interesting, though, that the lower brands will spend more. I guess I'm kind of a cheap guy because I went on the higher brand, the Crystal line, which is the top of the line, right?
Absolutely.
And I was lured right into the casino, so I was one of the exceptions. But what about Crystal? Do the higher-end line take advantage now of what Carnival is going to be going through? I saw their stock just plummet today.
Well, I think it's going to affect everybody. So you're going to have that effect across the board. But the higher-end brands tend to have experienced people that have traveled the world, and they've been to places like Egypt. I went to Egypt in November. I didn't have a care about it because I'm an experienced traveler. I wasn't concerned what the media was saying. I knew what was going on the ground. I think the experienced traveler, there's going to be less of an impact for those folks because they're going to want to go on vacation. Also, companies and brands like Crystal tend to skew older, and therefore you say, you know what, I've only got 10, 15, 20 years left to go. I'm taking advantage. I'm getting out and taking a vacation. And I think that's what you're going to find people doing.
Will companies, though, have to dry dock certain boats? I was just in St. Thomas. They had 6 big cruise ships coming in every other day.
Right.
There are a lot of ships out there. Will some of them have to be dry docked?
No, not at all. Not at all. These ships are going to continue to sail. They're state-of-the-art. What they'll do is they'll continue to bring out new ships. And I believe there's about 7 new ships coming out. Disney has the Disney Fantasy coming out the first quarter of this year. So you're going to still see more product rolling out. And you're going to see some of the older ships be refurbished and renewed and refreshed and brought to the market as well.
I wish I had young kids again. I'd love to take them on one of those Disney
you can even go on a Disney cruise.
I don't know. Without a young kid, maybe I could rent a young child to do that. We got to leave it at that. Mark Murphy, good to see you. Thanks very much for coming in. Well, stocks.